Hi, I just want to give you guys a quick introduction to the Add Parts tool. Some guys have noticed that it's been in the product for several months, and I've actually figured out how to use it without my even telling you. But I wanted to just show some of the things that have been recently added to it. Okay, we're going to start with this just as an example. This particular scan has a whole bunch of messiness to it that goes way below anything that's useful. And especially if you're on a slower machine, it will actually speed the whole software up quite a bit if you take a second to crop that off. And just hit delete. And, that's not really cleaned up the scan that much, but it's removed a whole bunch of data at the lower end, and it helps with the performance. Anyway, so let's go to the Add Part tool over here. It'll either be in expert mode or in your workflow, depending on how you start it up. And we'll apply survey on the way. Okay, so here we have this, the primary reconstruction has been scanned in. Some people also add it manually, so I'm seeing cases where this is a separate piece from the actual scan itself. I just wanted to point out that from the partials software perspective, you don't actually even need to scan it in, because this primary part itself, there's a gap between it and the inside of the thing that goes over it. So in this case, there's a wax up that goes over the top of this, and it's easy to see that there's a difference between. You can sort of see it in here, right? Between the inside of the wax up and the primary part. And obviously, in this case, that's due to milling compensation. In other cases, there will be a cement gap. So it's actually not good enough for their partial design to just have this primary piece sitting here in refractory. You actually need the gap as well, because it is possible with certain tools, smooth tools or other tools, that it would actually go through the object and actually insert some material there. So the manual way to get rid of it is, so we have the wax up here in the imported parts, is to take the inside of it and convert it to refractory. So the first step of that will turn it into a mesh. Okay, so now this inside has been turned into this mesh, and you're basically looking at the inside of the wax up, and as you can see, it completely covers the primary part that you so carefully scanned in. Actually, interestingly enough, in this corner, there's a tiny bit of overlap. But so if we look here in the settings, and we now have an extra part, inner wax up, and its default conversion is set to refractory. Okay, so if we apply that, we'll see. Okay, so the secondary has been added to wax, and one way to peek at the inside, or to peek at the refractory, is to go to the Edit Blockout tool, and here we basically see that the inside of the wax up has been added to the refractory. Okay, let me show you another way, the more automatic way to do this. You can actually just load a project. We will. Okay, so when you've loaded a dental project directly, it immediately picks up all of the reconstructions and loads them. And it also will take whatever parts require it, like the copings in this particular case. We'll split them in two and create these inner copings. And when you apply this, the inner copings are of course default to refractory. So let me just turn on these inner copings. Okay, so let's zoom in on these inner copings here. As you can see, this is basically the cement gap, right? So again, I don't really need, for the partial software, doesn't need this this primary part scanned in, because it's going to be completely encased by the inside of the coping. And so when I apply this, let's just apply it on our way to the Add Part tool. Okay, so it's basically added the insides to the blockout. If we take a look at the different options here for the other parts, so partial Pontics, that's going to be new. You can't make those yet. But if you look at the other ones, you have a few different options. So you could just import them to reference. You can make them non-editable. There's two different ways. It's either optimized for milling or optimized for water tightness, and that depends on your project settings. Or you can make it editable, which converts them straight to wax. You could put them into refractory, but it doesn't make any sense in this particular case, but you might have something that does make sense to explicitly do that. So non-editable basically means if it's milling, you're basically going to get the exact triangles of your reconstruction that came out of the CAD is going to end up in your partial without any modification. So the exact margin line, everything precise the way you had it. If it is non-editable optimized for water tightness, it will be converted into voxels, so there'll be a tiny bit of difference. But the part will basically come out the same way as it was in CAD. It just won't be identical. It won't be cut to the refractory either, and obviously it's non-editable, so you wouldn't be able to modify. You'll be able to add stuff to it, but you wouldn't be able to remove anything from it. Okay, if you have any suggestions or if you run into any problems, please just shoot me an email via support@exocad.com and just mention Vincent and partials. And it will end up to me. Thanks very much. Bye.